For years, women have come up to me and said some variation of this. I would love nothing more than to do what you did, to drop everything and run and to go on a quest and to travel around the world and find my true self, but I can't because I have A, B, C, D, E obstacles.
Yes.
I have an elderly relative who I take care of. I have young children who rely on me. I'm the provider for this household. I have contracts with people who I love and who need me, and I can't just run away from them. And I've struggled over the years to figure out how to answer that when they say, how can I go on my quest when I'm in that situation, which is most people, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I got my answer a couple of years ago in a bookstore in Washington, D.C. A woman came up after the signing and she said, I want to tell you about my mother. And she told me this story. Do I have time to bring it here? Her story is about her mother, who was Irish Catholic, grew up in a very traditional, restrictive household in the 50s, did what her mother and grandmother and grandmother and grandmother did, got married at 18, had 5 kids in a row. And when the oldest was 10 and the youngest was 2 months, her husband left her and never came back. And she was alone to raise this family.
Just picture that. The oldest is 10, the youngest is 2 months.
You're 28. You have a high school
education. No, as you're telling
education.
that story, I can't, I'm thinking, where was I when I was 28? And just the idea of managing
5 children.
Yeah.
Even if it was 1.
Even if it was 1.
It's 5. And
5 kids.
And the heartbreak of somebody walking out on you, too, that you have to process in addition to
so her husband got tired, got fed up, whatever.
They never heard from him again, left, took a train, left. And she had to figure out how to hold that family together, and she did. And I don't know the details of how she did it. I just know she's heroic. She did it. But she did something else, too, which is that she made a decision that very day that she realized he was never coming home, that her life was not always going to look like this much sorrow, this much oppression, this much poverty. And she made a promise to herself that someday she was going to see the world. And then she got a coffee can, just a regular, humble, empty coffee can, stuck it in the back of her closet where her kids couldn't see it. And starting on that very day that her husband left her, she put $1 in that coffee can and started a practice every day, $1. No matter what it took to get it, because it wasn't always easy to get it, but she figured her family was always desperate, always poor. There was never a day when $1 was going to break them. She could spare that and sacrifice for it. And it took her 20 years until all those kids were grown. She never touched that money. She just added to it, coffee can after coffee can after coffee can. And when the last kid was out of the house, she cashed in the coffee cans. She bought herself a ticket on a freighter ship, and she sailed around the world alone, as she had always promised herself that she would do. So the message of that is, you might not be able to begin your quest today, but you got to get your plan, get your coffee cans going, take the long view if you need to, but don't give up on that question in you about the world and your place within the world. Take whatever time you need, but make your plan and begin today.